Chapter 21 House Elf. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sebastian wanted to capitalize on the lingering heat from the third fire by targeting someone else vulnerable, so, after splitting from Snape, he made his way to the Hogwarts kitchens. They were located below the Great Hall, near the entrance to the Hufflepuff common room. To get in, you had to find a picture of fruit and gently tickle one of the pears. It would then burst into laughter and transform into a doorknob. Inside, hundreds of house elves bustled around, each wearing a tea towel with the Hogwarts crest, scurrying between magical gadgets and cleaning like crazy. One of them spotted Sebastian and shrieked, "Master Swann! Master Swann's back!" It rushed toward him, beaming from ear to ear, bowing repeatedly. Hearing the commotion, the other house elves dropped what they were doing and swarmed around him, excited. "Master Swann, I'll make you anything you want. Master Swann!" Their high-pitched voices buzzed in Sebastian's ears. "Quiet, please," Sebastian said, raising and lowering his hands slightly, his eyes gleaming at the sight of them. His capitalist spirit was aflame again. What a workforce! Obedient. Loyal. Hard-working. If he could recruit them to Swann alchemy, he could double its size. Since his first day, Sebastian had visited the kitchens practically every other day. In less than half a year, he'd become close friends with all the Hogwarts house elves. After all, what house elf wouldn't like a friendly, polite young wizard who often brought gifts? Unfortunately, he'd originally agreed with them that they'd follow him to Swann alchemy after graduation, but Dumbledore caught wind of it and intervened while Sebastian was still sketching out their future work plans. He sternly rejected Sebastian in front of everyone, reassuring the elves that they should keep working hard. Sebastian clearly remembered the wailing and loud crying, which made Dumbledore visibly uncomfortable. Despite the rejection, Sebastian maintained his friendship with the house elves until graduation. On that day, they all came to see him off, a huge, impressive crowd. Sebastian calmed himself, smiled, and surveyed the house elves. "From now on, you'll call me Professor Swann. I've been appointed Deputy Headmaster of Hogwarts. I look forward to your guidance." "Oh! Professor Swann. Professor Swann, what do you want us to do?" Sebastian reveled in the scene. "Never underestimate my bond with these house elves. Professor Dumbledore." They were still going to work for him, one way or another. It was a good idea to practice with them before the third fire burned out. Sebastian turned to them and said seriously, "I'm about to give an order. It's the first one since becoming deputy headmaster, and I expect you to follow it closely." The house elves stared intently, their large, bat-like ears perked, not wanting to miss a word. Sebastian declared, "Your current attire is outdated. You need new, more beautiful, exclusive Hogwarts uniforms." Uniforms? The house elves exchanged confused glances, looking down at their tea towels with the Hogwarts seal. Weren't they good enough? "Jeff!" Sebastian called, producing a stack of fabric. Jeff popped into existence beside him, sporting a brand new butler's uniform with the Swann family crest, a swan with spread wings, emblazoned on it. Suddenly, Sebastian found himself in a wide-open space. The house elves had backed away, whispering and pointing at Jeff with disgust. An elf abandoned by his master. Sebastian didn't get angry. Instead, he smiled encouragingly at Jeff. "Go on, Jeff. I'm leaving this to you." Jeff puffed out his chest, trying to look more dignified. He represented Mr. Swann. "Listen," Jeff said, trying to project his voice. "I am Mr. Swann's house elf. I have not been abandoned. These clothes weren't simply given to me by Mr. Swann. Mr. Swann has great respect for us house elves. He knows that directly giving us clothes would be humiliating." Jeff raised his head proudly. "I tailored this uniform myself." He turned and looked at Sebastian gratefully. "Mr. Swann said that a house elf's attire reflects well or poorly on their master. So he asked me to teach you all how to make clothes." Before Jeff could finish, some of the house elves burst with excitement. "I see. Professor Swann is so kind to house elves. Professor Swann is the best wizard ever. Professor Swann, but Jeff noticed that some of them still looked troubled. A flicker of annoyance crossed his face, and he shouted, "Are you going to disobey Mr. Swann's order?" Hearing that, the elves lowered their heads. They didn't want to disobey Professor Swann's orders. Sebastian waved his wand and transformed 2 apples into mannequins, one wearing a men's butler uniform, the other a maid's outfit. Both had the Hogwarts emblem on the chest, making them look exquisite and elegant. Alright, house elves, over the next week, I want you to learn how to make clothes from Jeff. I expect you to be smartly dressed the next time I visit the kitchens. Sebastian made his final decision because his stomach had begun to rumble. Time for a midnight snack. He called a house elf to his side. Mary, could you fry a small steak for me? Well done. Thank you. Mary was shaking with excitement, on the verge of fainting. Professor Swann thanked the house elf again. He is the greatest wizard. That she busied herself preparing the ingredients, muttering to herself. Sebastian found a seat and sat down, feeling a wave of emotion as he waited for his snack. Such excellent labor. Once they mastered clothes making, he could start taking orders. Awesome. Chapter 22 Muggle Studies Class. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hogwarts was officially open, and the students dove into their studies. Sebastian, determined to make a splash in his first class, did his homework. He started by reviewing old OWL and Newt exam papers, but found the questions were the same tired ones, like, describe a flashlight and how to use it. Or, list examples of Muggle transportation. What's the process for Muggles making tea? Seriously? Sebastian grumbled to himself, so outdated. These wizards are so stuck in the past. Doesn't anyone want to see what the Muggle world is really like these days? Of course. Thanks to the Statute of Secrecy, wizards have to protect themselves from being discovered by Muggles and keep the magical world a secret. Muggle Studies was created to help wizards blend into the Muggle world. Before Sebastian's time, the class taught young wizards about Muggles, which made it a famously easy course at Hogwarts. Students just took it for an easy credit. Sebastian was surprised when he saw the registration list. Get this. Students from 3rd to 7th grade, and less than 60 signed up for Muggle Studies, and over 2/3 are Muggle-born or half-blood wizards, but it makes sense. Besides the ones who just want credits and the nerds who want to learn everything, who would take Muggle Studies if they really wanted to learn magic. After looking through the old textbooks, Sebastian got it. It's not entirely the students' fault. Look at what this course was. It should have been awesome. Just wait and see what I do with it. Those little wizards who didn't sign up. They're gonna regret it. Sebastian asked other professors to reschedule, consolidating all Muggle Studies classes for grades 3 through 7 on Thursday afternoons. Then he got Professor McGonagall to arrange a larger classroom for him. After lunch on Thursday, Sebastian headed to the Muggle Studies classroom. Test paper in hand, he stood at the podium, looking out at a large group of young wizards. Ha! Just like being back in school, this is about the right class size. Sebastian pulled out the roll, and something amazing happened. Professor Swann's roll call list floated in the air, and each name transformed into a glowing butterfly, flitting over to the corresponding student. It landed on their shoulder, making them sparkle. Percy Weasley, a 4th year, was taken aback. He'd underestimated Professor Swann. Impressive wandless magic. A spell I've never seen. Unlike his older brother, Charlie Weasley, Percy wasn't a Quidditch fanatic, so, he just saw Professor Swann as a Quidditch superstar. He figured he was just teaching Muggle Studies to get experience at Hogwarts. After all, this course, I know everything already. But even if the course is boring, bringing all the grades together, that's kinda lazy. Is what you learn in 3rd grade the same as 7th? As a top student taking 12 classes, Percy vaguely looked down on Professor Swann's approach. He'd sat in the back to work on homework for his other subjects, but now that he saw Professor Swann show off his skills, he was actually excited. I hope Professor Swann's lectures are as cool as that spell. Wow! Professor, what kind of magic was that? Can you teach us? The classroom buzzed, and the little wizards clamored to ask questions. Sebastian was pleased. Good start, gotta show off a little. The little wizards were hooked. He smiled slightly and said, good, everyone's here. That was just a simple counting spell I came up with, but it's a little advanced for you right now. Before we start, we're going to take a little quiz. The students groaned. A quiz? Already? Professor Swann, come on. Sebastian raised his wand and waved it downwards. Suddenly, the little wizards couldn't make a sound. They stared at Sebastian, horrified. "Professor, you didn't need to, we'll be quiet. No need to shut us up." Sebastian pointed his wand at the test papers, and they flew up, landing neatly in front of each student. "Don't worry, you'll be able to talk again after you finish the quiz. 3rd to 5th years, you'll be answering questions from old OWL exams I copied from 5 years ago. 6th and 7th years, you're doing the Newt test paper, also from 5 years ago. Don't sweat it, skip the questions you don't know. This isn't graded, it's just for me to see where you're at." Sebastian glanced at the still resentful students and chuckled. "Here's a secret. The people who write the exam questions are lazy. A lot of the questions are reused." "Reused? You mean?" The little wizards perked up, listening intently. "So, you might see some of these on the real test. You have 30 minutes. Begin." "Wow. Professor, you're awesome. Real questions. But you underestimate us, we got this. You should have given us all the past papers. Seriously, we could handle it." Excited, the little wizards opened their test papers and got to work. Sebastian scanned the room and saw that most of the Muggleborn and half-blood students looked confident. The purebloods, except for Percy Weasley, were frowning, some even nibbling on their quills. 30 minutes passed, and the test papers flew up, stacked neatly, and were collected by Sebastian. That was easy. Muggle studies for the win. What am I gonna do? I left so much blank. Did you guys memorize all the questions? Don't worry. I got you covered. As soon as the test papers were gone, the little wizard started whispering. Sebastian tapped on the blackboard, drawing their attention. "Very good, you all followed instructions and are wearing Muggle clothes today. Now, hand in your wands, one by one. It's time to start our Muggle Studies class." Chapter 23, A Novel Class Experience. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hand over your wands, we playing Muggle today. The little wizards lined up to hand over their wands, and Sebastian stashed them in his undetectable extension bag. Then, with a wave of his hand, he led them out. "What's going on? Wasn't class about to start? Where are we going?" They were all heading out the castle gates. This was a new one for the young wizards. Muggle studies, obviously, but why toward the gate? The group, in a surprisingly orderly fashion, arrived at the school gates and found a car waiting. The kids looked at Professor Swann, hoping he'd clear things up. Sebastian, seeing their confusion, chuckled. "All right, wizards, hop in." They scrambled toward the bus. One kid, a veteran of the night bus, started sharing his horror story. "It's the night bus. I rode it once last year. I threw up for ages afterward. Last time I was on it, it was just a bunch of wobbly beds. Wizards were sliding all over the place. Whoa. Now they've got leather seats, comfy ones. Hold on tight, though. You'll get pinned to your seat when it takes off. I took a header last year, went tumbling across the floor before I could get up." Once Sebastian was on board, he gave everyone a quick safety briefing. He showed them how the seatbelts worked. After everyone buckled up, Sebastian told the driver, "Let's go." The kids tensed up, gripping the handrails like the seatbelts weren't enough. One considerate kid spotted Sebastian still standing in the aisle and yelled, "Professor, hold on. You'll fall." But before he could finish, the bus pulled away. The little wizards looked out the windows at the obstacles on the road that jumped aside automatically. Where was the bone-jarring ride? Didn't they say they'd fall? "Hope the professor doesn't think I'm a wimp for looking so nervous." One young Muggle-born wizard muttered, "This makes no sense. No inertia at all. It's totally unscientific." The kid next to him scoffed, "Are you kidding? This is magic. We don't do science here, we do magic." A more experienced wizard theorized, "I think it's using the undetectable extension charm. Like one of those boxes, no matter how much you shake it, the stuff inside stays put. Ever heard of Newt Scamander? I heard he used to carry a case of magical creatures around. Seeing the puzzled faces, Sebastian smiled. Welcome aboard the Night Bus 2.0, brought to you by Swann Alchemy. You can just call it the Night Bus. Safer, comfier, and perfect for wizards who can't apparate. And still as easy as before. Just stick your wand out and flag it down. After hearing the professor's explanation, the students couldn't contain their excitement anymore. That's the thing with Swann Alchemy, though. They never advertise. Seriously, how did they even get this far? The stuff's amazing, word of mouth. Awesome. I'm taking the night bus to Diagon Alley with my parents next summer. Professor, where are we going? Sebastian pretended to be mysterious. Top secret. Now, let's chat. He pointed to a Slytherin student. Marcus Flint, I hear you're not a fan of Muggles. What are you doing in this class? Marcus grinned sheepishly, a little embarrassed. I figured this and divination were the easiest way to pass my OWLs. The kids cracked up, which annoyed Marcus. Sebastian cut them off. Nothing to be ashamed of. I took this class myself back in the day. And, honestly, the exam is pretty easy. Spotting a familiar redhead, Sebastian said, Charlie Weasley, you seemed amused. Spill. Charlie chuckled. Professor, to be honest, same reason here. I reckon most people are in this class for that. Excellent. Sebastian said with a smile. Since everyone's aiming for the exam, let's start there. Sebastian settled back, pulled out the test papers, and started flipping through them, big blank spaces. Whose is this? Oh, Marcus. This course is supposed to be easy. Okay, next one, impressive. Word for word from the textbook, Percy Weasley, always on top of things. After reading all the papers, Sebastian relaxed. Everyone did well, teaching goals, achieved. Not long after, the night bus pulled up in front of a large warehouse on the outskirts of London. Once they were off the bus, Sebastian gathered them around. Instead of droning on about Muggles from a book. I thought I'd just take you into the Muggle world for a first-hand look. Sebastian turned and opened the warehouse door, emblazoned with the Swann family logo, and led the young wizards inside. The warehouse was huge, bigger than the Quidditch pitch. A running track encircled the inner walls. And the whole area was stuffed with Muggle stuff. The kids were stoked. This professor rocks. This is nothing like the Muggle studies classes I've taken before. We're actually getting to experience the Muggle world for ourselves. What a novel class experience this is. Look at all this Muggle stuff. It has been divided into different areas according to grade. The professor really has his own way. Charlie, up front, nudged his brother Percy. Dad would love this place. I gotta write him and tell him to come take classes with us. Chapter 24, Happy to Miss Shu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sebastian led the young wizards to the Muggle items, turned and announced, all right, listen up. We have a mission. He paused for effect. We're going to use this afternoon to get you all ready to ace that Muggle studies exam. He scanned their faces, seeing expressions of disbelief. Don't think it's impossible. He grinned. Trust your professor. I've got this. Exam-oriented education, he thought, feeling a surge of confidence. I'm the most experienced professor at Hogwarts when it comes to that. Besides, it's just Muggle studies. Piece of cake. He looked at them, his voice filled with assurance. Everything here was chosen specifically for you, based on your textbooks. I've even organized the items by grade level. Your goal is simple. 3 things: identify the items, explain what they do, and show me how to use them. Don't worry about breaking anything. I'm a pretty powerful wizard, fixing them is no problem. He winked. And, all you Muggleborns, this is your time to shine. Help your classmates out, okay? Now go on, get to it. With a whoop of excitement, the young wizards raced toward the areas marked for their grades, chattering and laughing. Professor Swann, this is awesome. Professor Swann, I'm going to nail my OWLs thanks to you. Professor Swann, you're the best. Percy stood before a bicycle, examining it with wide-eyed curiosity. This is the bicycle from the book. 2 wheels, is this how most Muggles get around? How do they even stay upright without magic? Nearby, a young Ravenclaw which noticed Percy's perplexed expression and remembered Professor Swann's instructions. Stepping forward, she asked, want to try riding it? Percy, slightly flustered by her enthusiasm, replied, thank you, Penelope Clearwater, but I was just wondering how Muggles balance. Just call me Penelope, she said, already wheeling the bike onto the track. Come on, it's easy. I'll hold it for you. Percy tentatively sat on the seat, and with Penelope's steadying hand, he began to wobble along. Whoa! It was actually kind of fun. Seeing this, Charlie grabbed another bike and hopped on. With his years of experience on a broomstick, he quickly got the hang of it and zipped around the track, but Charlie was going too fast. He hadn't figured out how to stop, so he yelled, Professor! Help! I can't stop! Instantly, he and the bicycle floated into the air and gently drifted back to the edge of the track. The other young wizards roared with laughter at Charlie's predicament. Settle down, Charlie. Didn't you read the instructions on the side, Charlie? Sebastian walked over. Mr. Weasley, try gently squeezing the hand brakes. That'll slow you down. Go on, give it a shot. Then, turning to Marcus, who was laughing the loudest, Sebastian said, Marcus, why don't you give it a try? Or are you too scared to fall? Marcus's smile vanished. He was a little worried about embarrassing himself, but he wasn't about to admit it. Grudgingly, he pushed a bicycle onto the track and began to cautiously pedal. It didn't take long for his broom riding skills to kick in. Soon, he was zooming around, stopping beside Charlie. Hey, Weasley! I bet I can go faster than you. Charlie couldn't resist the challenge. Gryffindors never back down. He jumped back on his bike, and they were off, racing each other around the track. Sebastian sighed, shaking his head. Kids, ignoring the 2 troublemakers, he went to help the other young wizards. We'll see how confident they are on the quiz next week. And if I remember correctly, Charlie left a lot of his test blank last time. Throughout the afternoon, Sebastian moved from group to group, answering questions and clarifying confusing concepts. By 5 o'clock, seeing that the young wizards had grasped the basics, Sebastian led them to a room adjacent to the warehouse. Whoa! An arcade! A Muggle-born wizard exclaimed. Sebastian smiled. Okay, I figured you've all been working hard, so it's time to have some fun. These are some of the most popular games for Muggle kids. Pair up and let's play. Numbers appeared above the young wizards' heads, and they quickly found their teammates, eager to start. Marcus was paired with a third-year Muggle-born, and they were playing Contra together. At first, Marcus was a bit put off by his teammate, but that didn't last long. His character kept dying. Damn it, why is this so hard? His face turned red. He, a pure-blood wizard, was being carried by a Muggle-born kid. Sensing Marcus's frustration, the young Hufflepuff stopped playing for a moment. Forgetting Marcus's initial attitude, he patiently explained the tricks of the game. Soon, Marcus got the hang of it. Fun. It was actually fun. This Muggle-born kid is pretty cool, that he loved the feeling of winning. Yeah. Take that. Marcus shouted, caught up in the excitement. The Hufflepuff wizard went wild, firing in every direction, the room filled with laughter and cheering. Charlie was lost in a racing game, dodging left and right like he was back on his broomstick. Percy, with Penelope offering advice, was frantically guiding Pac-Man through the maze. Happy times always flew by, and Sebastian's first Muggle studies lesson was drawing to a close. He started to wrap things up, ready to take the young wizards back to school at 5:30. But the pleas of the young wizard stopped him in his tracks. Professor, please, just a little longer. Professor, I haven't figured out how these machines work. Professor, we're learning about Muggle culture. Please. Professor, please. Chapter 25 Sugar-Coated Bullets. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the little wizard's urging, Sebastian extended their time until 6 p.m. By then, his stomach was growling, worried the kids would starve. He reluctantly ended class and gathered them together. All right, if you're good next time, I'll bring you again. It's getting late, and we need to head back to school. Even outside the warehouse, the kids were still buzzing about their experiences. You should have seen me dodge. I was so fast, they couldn't touch me. Too bad we lost the last round. Man, that game was awesome, and I looked pretty cool in those overalls. Boarding the night bus, Sebastian sighed, *ugh, it's almost 7, there won't be any food left back at school. He asked the driver to swing by the nearest KFC, they were all tired from playing, and he couldn't let them go back to Hogwarts hungry. Bursting through the doors, Sebastian announced, eat up. Professor's buying tonight. The little wizards cheered and swarmed the Muggle-born kids for menu advice. The Muggle-borns instantly transformed into fast food connoisseurs, pointing and offering suggestions. Soon, everyone had a burger in one hand, a Coke in the other, happily chowing down. This Coke is amazing. Burp. Sebastian had been concerned that the pure-blood wizards might be picky about Muggle food, but he was relieved to see them enjoying it. He took a sip of his Coke, pretty good. They were enthusiastically comparing burgers with their friends. Marcus, especially, was arm in arm with a Muggle-born he'd just met. Between bites, they dissected the game. Not bad, a little treat works wonders. Sebastian saw pure-bloods, half-bloods, and Muggle-borns. Weren't they all just wizards? With the Muggle world advancing so fast, wizards needed to unite. This felt like a step in the right direction. Even Marcus, a staunch pureblood, had made a Muggle-born friend. Sebastian was encouraged. This is great, that if he could just break down this barrier, a few more field trips wouldn't hurt. After all, if it gets the job done, who cares? When everyone was stuffed, Sebastian herded them back onto the night bus for the ride to Hogwarts. As soon as they were moving, he returned their wands. The excitement slowly faded, and one by one, the little wizard started to nod off. Suddenly, Marcus stood and came to sit next to Sebastian. He looked troubled. Professor, can I ask you something? I used to be proud of being a pure-blood and looked down on Muggles. But after spending the day with you, I realized Muggles have a lot going for them. I was especially impressed by all the fun games they've invented. Wizards only have Quidditch, it seems. I'm a little confused about why that is. Seeing Marcus's expression, Sebastian smiled gently and explained, Muggles are incredibly creative. Plus, there are so many of them. Think of it this way, even if only 1 in 10,000 is a genius, they'll still have far more geniuses than all the wizards combined. When I realized that, it bothered me for a long time. Hearing that Professor Swann had similar worries, Marcus perked up. How did you deal with it, Professor? Sebastian looked him in the eye. Wizards' creativity lags behind Muggles these days. But there's no shame in admitting where you fall short. We're Slytherins. We respect strength. And when it comes to creativity, Muggles are the best. Seeing Marcus looking a little down, Sebastian patted him on the shoulder. Don't be discouraged. Marcus. Muggles have their strengths, and wizards have theirs. We need to drop the superiority complex and treat Muggles as equals. Learn from them, then express it with magic. I'll let you in on a secret. That's how Swann alchemy got started. Works, right? Look at the night bus. It's so fast. How long did it take to get from Hogwarts to London? Muggles can't drive that fast. Sebastian ruffled Marcus's hair and chuckled. Observe. Think. We've got a whole year of Muggle studies ahead. Hopefully, you'll find your own answers. The night bus pulled up to Hogwarts. Sebastian led the kids back to the Great Hall. He clapped his hands, drawing their attention. Did everyone enjoy today's Muggle studies class? Yes. So much. I didn't know Muggle food could be so good. The games were awesome, that the little wizards answered in unison. Stopping their renewed excitement, Sebastian said. It's tough to find an afternoon when everyone's free. So, if you want to go out again, you have to complete the homework. Asterisk oh no, asterisk homework. But it's worth it, if it means another trip. The little wizards were instantly motivated. Tell us what to do, Professor. We'll do it, Sebastian smiled. Third and fourth years, write about the Muggle items you played with today. Bonus points if you can compare them to things in the wizarding world. Fifth years, compare the strengths of the wizarding and Muggle worlds, based on your observations. Sixth and seventh years, you need to think deeply about why the two worlds are so different. Sebastian's expression grew serious. Everyone must do their own work. 2 weeks. Turn it in during Muggle studies in 2 weeks. Looking at the crestfallen faces, Sebastian continued. What are you waiting for? Bed. Chapter 26 Popular Muggle Studies Class. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As soon as Sebastian got to his office the next day, Snape was in his face. Why don't you just live at Hogwarts? The students were looking all over for you last night. Sebastian leaned back in his chair, cool as could be. Living at school is just convenient for you. I have a wife, you know. And to see her, I got Professor McGonagall to hook my office fireplace up to the Flu network before the term even started. Beat that. Wouldn't it be nice to sleep with your wife in your arms? Snape, seeing Sebastian's smug face, just about blew a gasket. He stood up straight and said slowly, a bunch of young Slytherins came looking for you last night, wanting to sign up for Muggle studies. They couldn't find you, so they rousted me, the poor potions professor, out of bed. I hope this celebrity professor understands the plight of us ordinary professors and can handle these situations himself, okay? With that, Snape threw his robes dramatically and stormed out of Sebastian's office. He couldn't stand to look at that show-off, even for a second. Looking at Snape's retreating back, Sebastian was puzzled. People came to my office looking for me. Last night? That didn't sound like the Slytherins. It sounded more like something the Gryffindors would pull. Were they really that eager? Sebastian underestimated the impact his unique teaching style had on his students. The young wizards were buzzing with excitement and desperate to get into Muggle studies. The day before, they'd seen nearly 60 students vanish for the entire afternoon, only to reappear just before bedtime. Everyone was dying of curiosity, their gossip circuits overloaded. Where had they gone? We're supposed to be taking Muggle studies. Why did a whole group just disappear for the afternoon? And not come back until night? So, when Charlie and the others returned to their dorms, they were immediately swarmed. Charlie and his group, suddenly the center of attention, got all excited and started spilling the beans about their day. Every word was true. It had been an awesome day. Professor Swann is my hero. Nobody better say a bad word about Professor Swann around me. Sebastian's name was on everyone's lips again. But this time, it wasn't about Quidditch, it was about being a great professor. So jealous. The professor took us out to play. The professor invited students to play games. The professor bought us dinner. Any one of those things would have the little wizards jumping out of their skins. Damn it. Why didn't I sign up for Muggle studies? The older students were kicking themselves, but the third-year students saw an opportunity. We've only had one class, right? I want to sign up too. I have to take Muggle studies. The next day at lunch, as soon as Sebastian walked into the Great Hall, he was mobbed by eager young wizards. He felt like a cork bobbing in a hurricane, unable to keep his balance, as their shouts filled his ears. Professor, I want to sign up too. Professor, I really love Muggle studies. Please let me in. Professor. Don't turn away those who are hungry for knowledge. All Sebastian could see was a sea of excited faces. He raised his hand with difficulty to calm them down. They were so enthusiastic. Good thing I was prepared. Thanks, Snape, for the heads up. What a pal. He finally managed to speak, outlining the plan he'd already worked out. All right, everyone, calm down. Any third-year student can sign up for my course. Just turn in your assignments next time you come to class. Point one student piped up, but Professor, we missed the first class. What if we didn't see those items? Sebastian smiled. Those of you with Muggle or half-blood backgrounds can draw inspiration from your past experiences. As for the purebloods, I'm sure you've all been to King's Cross Station. Use that as your guide. I'll post the specific requirements on the bulletin board, so check it out. Then, he pointed at the two red-headed twins in the crowd. And you too, Mr. Weasleys, get out of here. Your classes don't start until next year. Professor, that's not fair. Fred protested indignantly. We love learning too. You can't reject us just because we're only in second year. Professor, why don't you talk to Headmaster Dumbledore about making Muggle studies a required course? That way, you wouldn't have to worry about it. George chimed in. Hearing the twins, the other second-year students started to make a fuss. Yeah, Professor, please talk to the headmaster. We're not afraid of extra work. Some first-year students, hearing the commotion, also crowded around and started chanting in unison. Sebastian had a headache. He looked around and saw students from all four houses. Wow. They were all on the same page. Weren't they throwing dung bombs at each other the day before yesterday? This was one team that treated itself as the boss. They were united now. All right, desperate, he pulled out the big guns. Professor McGonagall. How about this? Why don't you go talk to Professor McGonagall first? If she says it's okay for you to take the third-year course now, then I'm fine with it. Hearing that they'd have to face McGonagall, the little wizards grumbled and dispersed. Fred muttered as he walked away, Professor Swann is so mean. Sending us to Professor McGonagall. Yeah, she's gonna tear us a new one. George agreed. It's all Percy and Charlie's fault. They're the ones who kept talking about how easy it is to ride a bike and how fun those games are. And those Muggle burgers and Coke. Fred exclaimed, still indignant. Let's go find them. With that, the twins led a pack of second-year Gryffindors and took off. Seeing the crowd around Sebastian had thinned out, Professor Flitwick, who had been watching from nearby, came over, all smiles. Congratulations, Sebastian. You're officially the most popular professor in the school. I just saw Marcus from Slytherin laughing and joking with a Hufflepuff student. I've never seen anything like it. Flitwick, looking relieved, continued. You set out to break down the barriers between the houses, and it's already starting to work. He patted Sebastian on the shoulder and said excitedly, Sebastian, if you need any help, don't hesitate to ask. Chapter 27 Selection Rules. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Muggle Studies class was the talk of the school all day. Every young wizard, whether they'd been there or not, from freshmen to seniors, was buzzing about yesterday's class. The chatter finally died down after dinner. Then, everyone got hyped up about tomorrow's Quidditch tryouts. In the Gryffindor common room, Charlie, the team captain, was giving his teammates a pep talk. I want everyone to bring their A-game to tryouts tomorrow. Let's go out there and crush those Slytherin jerks. We're the best, hands down. Now, who wants to take a shot at guessing how the selections will go tomorrow? At 8:20 on Saturday morning, Sebastian arrived at the lawn in front of the castle to find the Quidditch teams from all four houses already there. Even Professor McGonagall, a huge Quidditch fanatic, was there. She wasn't about to miss the school team selections. The lawn was packed with students. Practically every young wizard with even a passing interest in Quidditch. Forget Hogsmeade, Quidditch trumps everything. Professor Swann himself was running the tryouts. After all, before he came to Hogwarts, he was the world's best seeker. But still, why weren't they at the stadium? Everyone was eager to see what kind of tricks Professor Swann, the Muggle Studies whiz, would pull out of his hat for the Quidditch tryouts. Sebastian surveyed the four house teams, a satisfied look on his face. Awesome. Full of energy. He frowned slightly as he looked at the Slytherin team. Marcus looks like. The overall attractiveness of the Slytherin team just took a nosedive. Oh, well, it's not a beauty contest. They just need to be good at Quidditch. Sebastian greeted Professor McGonagall, then waved his hand, motioning for everyone to follow him down towards the lake. Soon, he led the young wizards to an open, flat area beside the Black Lake. He pulled out several flying brooms specifically for the selection and then revealed the specially prepared alchemical prop, a scoreboard that was over 6 feet tall. Sebastian pointed his wand, magically anchoring the scoreboard to the ground, then waved it towards the black lake. Instantly, shimmering, colorful rings of light erupted over the surface of the water, like 1,000 vibrant rainbows, reflecting in the bright sunshine. They circled the black lake at different heights, staggered for an impressive effect. Each ring was about 6 feet in diameter and had a large number on it. Between some of the rings, black, orb-like objects were constantly darting back and forth. The young wizards gasped at the sight. What kind of magic is that? It's amazing. Are we supposed to fly through those rings on our brooms? Look. Ring 11 is super close to the lake. If you don't watch it after diving down from ring 10, you'll crash right into the water. And check it out. After flying over ring 20, you have to make an immediate right turn, or you'll miss ring 21. Professor McGonagall walked over to Sebastian, exclaiming. Incredible. Sebastian, controlling spells with such precision from this distance is astonishing. I'm curious, how far have you progressed with your magic? But we can talk about that later. Let's get these tryouts started. Sebastian nodded to Professor McGonagall and called the stunned Quidditch players over. This morning's tryouts will test your basic flying skills. All you have to do is ride your broom, accurately fly through each ring, and complete a circuit around the Black Lake. The 14 fastest and most skilled flyers will advance to the special trials this afternoon. Sebastian raised his hand, pointing to the 2 rings closest to them, and explained, your time starts when you fly through ring 1 and stops when you break through ring 36. Note that the next ring will only turn green after you successfully pass through the previous one. If the ring ahead of you doesn't turn green, you have to turn around and fly through the previous ring again, or your attempt will be invalid. One more thing. Every time you touch one of these rings with any part of your body during the flight, 2 seconds will be added to your time, and if you get hit by one of those black orbs, 10 seconds will be added. If you're still confused, you can check out the rules on the back of the scoreboard, which includes detailed diagrams and instructions. To keep things fair, we'll draw lots to determine the order. After the drawing, Sebastian encouraged the nervous players. Don't sweat it, a bad flight isn't the end of the world. Everyone gets 3 tries, the final score will be based on your fastest time. Contestant number 1, you have 10 minutes to prepare. Dismissed. Charlie stared at the number 1 in his hand, and took a deep breath. Talk about unlucky, but whatever, I'll set the pace for the rest of the team. He shook his head, cleared his mind, and began to carefully study the layout of the rings on the Black Lake, visualizing his flight path in his mind. By now, the Black Lake was lined with young wizards, buzzing with excited chatter. Ouch! Number 1 has terrible luck. Only 10 minutes to prepare. Yeah, the later you go, the better. You can learn from the mistakes of the people ahead of you. I don't know about that. The more I watch, the more nervous I get. I'd rather just get it over with early. Professor Swann's rules are pretty fair, though. 3 tries, and only the fastest one counts. Even though Professor Swann is a Slytherin, he's actually being pretty fair. Totally. He's even providing the brooms to level the playing field. Fred and George squeezed through the crowd to get next to the Gryffindor players, cheering them on. When they found out that Charlie was contestant number 1, they tried to encourage him. Charlie. We know you've got this. That's right. Professor McGonagall herself has vouched for your skills. Unfortunately, Charlie was so absorbed in his mental flight simulation that he didn't even hear them. He just thought his brothers were being a bit of a distraction. 10 minutes flew by, and Sebastian stood up and called out using a sonorous charm. The Quidditch team tryouts are officially underway. Contestant number 1, get ready. Charlie stepped out of the crowd, greeted by cheers of encouragement from behind. He mounted one of the school brooms, looked at the greenlit ring 1, and silently encouraged himself, let's do this. Chapter 28 Investigation Objectives. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Charlie slammed his foot, and his broomstick shot off like an arrow. Sebastian watched Charlie's flying and was impressed. He's good. He's definitely Gryffindor's Quidditch captain for a reason. Turning from Charlie, he called the second contestant over. Halo 1 will turn green when Charlie passes Halo 12. That's your cue to go. Got it, Professor. I checked the rules on the back of the scoreboard. The young Slytherin wizard hopped on his broom, a bundle of nerves. Meanwhile, Charlie zoomed through the air, wind screaming in his ears. He focused on keeping his balance and nailed each halo. After a quick climb and clearing Halo 10, Charlie adjusted his stance slightly. Damn it! I think I clipped that last one. Focus. Here comes the tough part, Halo 11. Should I slow down? After a split second of doubt, Charlie made up his mind. He was going for it. He ducked low, practically glued to the broom, and gripped the handle tight, diving from high above. His eyes locked on Halo 11, judging the distance. Close. Closer. Now. Charlie yanked the broom, forcing it to slow down. He squeaked through Halo 11, then pulled up and skimmed across the water. Whoa! The spectators went wild. What a move. They thought he was going to crash. Way to go, Charlie. Awesome flying. The kids were jumping and cheering, and even some Slytherin students were clapping at the crazy stunt. As soon as Charlie cleared Halo 12, Slytherin wizard number 2 took off like a shot. He waved to the third contestant waiting on the sidelines and told him to get ready. Then, Sebastian turned to Professor McGonagall. Professor, Charlie's a natural. He's a shoo-in for the team. Professor McGonagall beamed. I've always believed in him. I've always thought he could go pro after graduation. She frowned slightly. Sebastian, I'm curious about the scoreboard. Why does it track the time between each pair of rings instead of just the total time? The kids perked up, thinking, finally, Professor, you're the best, we've been wondering that forever, Sebastian explained patiently, the spacing of each pair of halos is deliberate. Different placements test different skills. Take Charlie, for example. Did you notice he slowed down on halos 23, 24, and 25? That shows he needs to work on his rapid turns. Tracking the time for each ring lets us pinpoint each flyer's weaknesses. Sebastian smiled at Charlie, who was getting closer. I could tell Charlie that his turns need work, but he might not listen. Nobody likes hearing criticism. With these numbers, I don't have to say a word. The scoreboard speaks for itself. The little wizards had an aha moment. So that's why it's so complicated. It's all about testing different things. Professor Swann is a genius. Even the tryouts are insightful. Some of the Quidditch team captains shifted uncomfortably. Compared to Professor Swann, their tryouts were a joke. Professor Swann was the best seeker in the world. Fred from Gryffindor called out, no wonder Charlie slowed down. His turns need work. George chimed in, fast turns are what it's all about. Anyone can fly fast in a straight line. Sebastian told Charlie to land, and when he was back on the ground, Sebastian said, 3 minutes and 11 seconds. Great job. Charlie glanced at the scoreboard and asked, Professor, don't we get 3 tries? When can I go again? I know I can do better. Relax, go rest. I'll call you after number 28 finishes. Just then, Sebastian sensed something was wrong with contestant number 4, splash, a huge plume of water erupted under Halo 11, the kids gasped. Professor! Someone fell in the water. Help! Sebastian pointed his wand at the water under Halo 11, and the wizard popped to the surface. With a flick of his wrist, Sebastian cast a drying charm. Can't have him catching a cold. The little wizard in the air looked dazed. He shook his head to clear it. Oh, the professor saved me. A wave of warmth washed over him as his clothes dried. He quickly got back on his broom and sped toward the next halo. After that, everyone flew a little more carefully. After contestant 28 finished his third run, a bunch of second-year wizards swarmed Sebastian. Professor, we want to try out too. Fred shouted. Yeah. Let us have a go. The other kids yelled. Seeing Fred and George leading the charge, Professor McGonagall said, Sebastian, why not let them try? They'll be doing tryouts for the house teams next week, but it would be nice to try it. If you're tired, I can take over for a while. Sebastian checked his watch. 11 a.m., still early. He looked up and said generously, sure, why not? We might find some hidden talent. Chapter 29. It's hard to refuse such hospitality. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The little wizards cheered and got ready. Seeing these second graders, Sebastian felt a surge of anticipation. He recognized some of them from the movies: Fred and George Weasley, Angelina Johnson and Alicia Spinnet from Gryffindor, Cedric Diggory from Hufflepuff, Graham Montague from Slytherin, Roger Davies from Ravenclaw. Wow. Future Quidditch stars. I wonder what these kids can do. Turns out, 3 made it into the top 14, Fred Weasley, George Weasley, Cedric Diggory. Cedric even snagged 8th place, just like in the movie, becoming Hufflepuff's captain in his 3rd year. The other kids didn't do as well, lacking the experience of the older players, but they were still talented and good enough to join their house teams this year. Professor McGonagall beamed, thrilled to see so many talented Gryffindors. She gathered them, showering them with praise. Fred suddenly got an idea. He and George whispered, then shouted to Sebastian, "Professor Swann, show us what you got. Let's see your skills." Fred's shout grabbed everyone's attention, the professor showing off. Awesome. How will he handle Halo number 11, *, will he crash and burn, giddy, they chanted, "Show us your skills. Show us your skills. Professor, don't hold back. Impress us. Professor Swann, you're not scared, are you? Let's see the world's best seeker fly." Sebastian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Me, he looked around at the eager faces. How could he say no? Okay, fine, but you asked for it. He laughed. Alright, you want a lesson? You got it. He summoned a broom, hopped on, and zoomed towards Halo number 1. The kids watched every move, eager to see the world's best seeker in action. They were immediately blown away. Professor Swann was flying like a pro. Like a bird. Charlie was good, but Professor Swann was on another level. Check out that turn, *, no slowdown at all, then came rings 10 and 11. Whoa. Holy cow. No way. Professor Swann dove, rotating as he went, and zipped through Halo number 11 before soaring up towards the next ring. Is that even possible? We both play Quidditch. Why are you so good? The kids were going wild. The professor is amazing. That's why he's the best seeker in the world. Look how he hits the center of every ring. He's always taking the best route. Maximum speed. Shoot. I don't have my camera. This would be a viral video. Sebastian showed off his skills, giving the kids a visual feast. As he passed ring 36, they stared at the scoreboard. What's his time? 1 minute and 59 seconds. Incredible. Way faster than Charlie's 2 minutes 38 seconds. How? So cool, They swarmed Sebastian as he landed, jumping and shouting. Professor McGonagall watched with amusement. Sebastian managed to calm them down. That's it for this morning, he announced. The top 14, Quidditch pitch, 2 p.m. 2 hours to rest up. He folded his broom, waved to Professor McGonagall, and hurried away. He skipped the dining hall, worried he'd be mobbed, and went straight to his office. He ate lunch, then took a nap. At 2 p.m., the 14 finalists were waiting at the Quidditch field. Sebastian got right to it. To avoid competition for specific positions, he had them try out for everything. First, a chaser accuracy test, then, as a beater, hitting a moving dummy with a bludger at high speed. Next, a keeper defense test. Each test was done 3 times, best score wins. Finally, seeker practice, but only Charlie and Cedric did well. We just couldn't find the snitch. Sebastian ended the seeker test after 1 round. Chapter 30. Unexpected selection results. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After a tough afternoon of tryouts, 7 stood out and made the Hogwarts Quidditch team. The seeker was Charlie Weasley, a 7th-year Gryffindor. Oliver Wood, a 4th-year Gryffindor, snagged the goalkeeper spot. The 2 beaters were Marcus Flint, a 5th-year Slytherin, and Debbie Henry, a 7th-year from Ravenclaw. The chasers were Landon Koch, a 7th-year Slytherin, Paul Ford, another 7th-year Ravenclaw, and Cedric Diggory, a surprising second-year Hufflepuff, Charlie's top pick. Status also earned him the captaincy. Sebastian was a bit taken aback by the lineup. Sure, some older students had an edge with years of experience, so their selection wasn't a shock, and Wood was a Quidditch nut. He practiced rain or shine, those guys kept their old positions, seekers were still seeking, and the goalkeeper was still guarding the hoops, but Flint, a beater. Wasn't he a chaser before? How did he suddenly get so good at smacking bludgers? And Cedric Diggory, a second-year wizard? The kid's got serious talent. Wasn't Cedric a seeker in the books? Turns out he's a natural chaser too. Who says Hufflepuffs don't have a killer instinct? His shots were right on target. A whole bunch of Hufflepuffs swarmed Cedric, showering him with congratulations. Even the older students who didn't make the team offered their best wishes. Gotta hand it to those Badgers, unity and friendship are their thing, man. If only everyone at Hogwarts was as cool as the Hufflepuffs. Sebastian didn't want to interrupt their celebration, so he just called out, "Team members, meet me at the Quidditch pitch at 5 p.m. on Monday. Enjoy the weekend." As the professor left, the young wizards kept celebrating. They escorted the team players back to their common rooms. Time to party. On the way back to the Slytherin common room, Marcus ponied up for butterbeers from Hogsmeade for a bunch of students. Then, he declared, "Nothing's gonna stop this celebration, not even the professors." The Slytherins cheered and ran back to the common room, oblivious to Snape's thunderous expression. Only 2 people made the team, what's to celebrate? Snape stood in the doorway of his office, restraining himself. Finally, he decided against interrupting their fun. Gotta look out for the students. Gotta look out for the students. He took a deep breath, repeated it twice to himself, then slammed his office door shut. On Monday afternoon, the 7 team members arrived early at the Quidditch pitch. Clutching their brooms, they stood in pairs, representing their houses, chatting amongst themselves, except for Cedric, who stood alone. Guess that's what happens when you're the only Hufflepuff selected. That's what Sebastian saw when he arrived. He sighed inwardly. Man. Still a long way to go to break down those house barriers. Sebastian waved to the students and said loudly, "Hey, team members. Come over here, I've got some gifts for you." The little ones perked up at the mention of gifts and crowded around. Even the students watching from the sidelines craned their necks for a peek. They were all dying to know what Professor Swann was giving to the team. After all, in the eyes of the little wizards, Professor Swann was known for his generosity. Seeing the 7 students gather around, Sebastian pulled out 7 large gift boxes he had prepared and handed them out. "What are you waiting for? Open them up." The students looked at each other, unable to contain their excitement, and tore into the boxes. Inside was a sleek, black Quidditch uniform, a matching hat, and a pair of windproof goggles. Charlie immediately ripped off his old jersey and put on the new one. "Whoa!" The onlookers gasped at Charlie in his new uniform. "So cool. That black jersey looks awesome. Way better than the house uniforms. And the Hogwarts crest. I want one." The Weasley twins, standing on the sidelines, rushed over to Charlie and started stroking the uniform, sending a shiver down Charlie's spine. As the others donned their uniforms, Sebastian told them, "This uniform isn't just for show. It's waterproof and insulated, so you won't freeze in the winter. The hat will protect your heads from getting clobbered by bludgers. And the goggles are windproof, dustproof, and waterproof, so you can see clearly even in a downpour. I had Swan whip these up for you on Sunday. Consider it a perk for making the team." The players puffed out their chests, their faces beaming, and felt like they could fly a few laps around the pitch. All that hard work had paid off. The onlookers started shouting even louder. "Professor! We want them too. Professor, does Swan's alchemy sell those? Professor, I messed up during the tryouts. Give me another shot." Sebastian quickly calmed them down. The selection was fair, just, and transparent. Don't sweat it, guys who didn't make it. The team is reselected every year when school starts. Train hard and do your best next year. If you make the team, you'll get the gear. And the team members shouldn't get complacent. It'd be pretty embarrassing if you didn't make the cut next year. Then, he held up 7 brooms and handed them to the team. the kids were stunned. What's going on? You get a broom for making the team. And not just any broom, the brand new Shooting Star 7. The professor is really going all out. They quickly asked, Professor, these are for us. Sebastian looked at them like they were crazy. What are you smoking? These brooms belong to the Quidditch team. You just have the right to use them. Now get out there and practice.